This is Mark Bell from SuperTraining Gym. SuperTraining Gym, the strongest gym in the West. Today I'm going to read a question that came in off of Jessica Smith's Transformation Progress. Thank you guys so much for watching that. It has, I think, like almost 7,000 views right now. A lot of comments, a lot of people talking back and forth, and a lot of people excited to see the progress that Jessica made. And as I mentioned in the video, I talked about how excited I was for her and how happy I am for her because of the progress that she made that you don't see. You know, you guys see the weight loss, you see the difference in her physique, and she looks great. But I've seen a huge difference in what's going on up here. For that, I'm grateful because I think that will carry her through whatever the next stages or whatever the next goals are for her life. And I think a lot of times we set a goal and then we don't know where to go from there. So we set a goal and we're excited and we're pumped and we start to live it. We start to turn that kind of hope. That hope starts to kind of turn into something. That dream that you had turns into something. You start feeling great about it. You start heading in the right direction, and then ultimately you get to the destination, right? But then what do you do? And so that's what's really important, is that the diet and the nutrition and the X's and O's of it all is important, very important, but the most important thing is not that you changed your diet and not that you changed some habits, it's that you changed yourself. You have to figure out a way to change yourself, and the only way to do it that I've seen is through incremental progress. It's gotta be just like in the gym. It's gonna take you a long time to add 20 pounds to your bench press, especially if you've been lifting for a really long time. It will take even longer. Strength is not cultivated overnight. Having the physique that you want isn't going to happen overnight. It's going to take time to build towards that. But what we're also building is not just habits with our food, we're building in habits with the relationships that we have with food. And even beyond that, it's not a relationship with food that's a problem, it's the relationship with ourselves. And it's the relationship you have with other people. Because you don't normally say that you have a bad relationship with food, but a lot of times people are, when they go to the ball game or when they go out and they do something with their friends, that's where they're eating and drinking and doing all these things, and those are the habits that we need to figure out a way to crush. But a great question came in from Holly Johnson. Thank you so much. Hopefully I don't embarrass you too much by reading some of your question here. So Holly says, my sister has been dealing with finding the right way to lose weight healthy. It's been a roller coaster of emotions. She lost weight pretty fast. Then one day, when she would enjoy one unhealthy meal, she would be up in weight. And just kind of talks about the struggle back and forth. She said it's super stressful. How do you enjoy some foods you really love and yet get right back on track? So how do we enjoy foods but still get back on track? Keeping a healthy state of mind while dieting is important too. Jess, you are seriously inspirational. Thank you so much for sharing this. # live through it. One of the things that I wanted to bring up to you and highlight to you guys is that, emotional eating is a trick. It's the, you ever watch the Flintstones or, back in the day, the Jetsons, and he's got the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. Well, the bad food is the devil that's on the other side, that's always going to be talking to you, that's always going to say, hey, you deserve it, treat yourself, this is really great for you. But these foods are harmful to us, other than the way that they taste, other than the attractive properties that they have. There is absolutely nothing good about them, right? There's nothing good about an apple pie, there's nothing good about ice cream, there's nothing good about pizza, there's nothing, I know, as I'm saying, you guys are like, F you, there's a lot of great things about these foods. Those foods can be fun, there's time and place for them, but there's nothing inherently that is going to be favorable to you. There's nothing in there that has any healing properties. There's no special nutrients in there that your body needs. It might have fat and protein and stuff like that, just like a lot of other things do, so maybe that's debatable, but you know what I'm talking about. It has extra sugar, it has extra calories, it has extra fat that we really don't need. These are highly processed foods. They are designed specifically in combination so it overrides your ability to recognize even when you're full. Because it doesn't matter if you're full or not, you'll still eat a donut. If someone's like, hey, would you like to have a donut? You wouldn't respond and say, oh, no, I'm full. right? But you would say that to chicken. You would say that to steak. If someone's like, hey, you want a couple chicken breasts? You'd be like, nah, man, I'm full. I'm stuffed already. Because you're thinking about, man, that's a lot of work to eat chicken breast when I really don't care about eating chicken breast. And so we have to start to figure out a way, how are we going to maintain this kind of healthy mindset and not get too crazy about our food. That's the tough part. Like, can we have a manageable, reasonable diet that allows for some junk food here and there? You can do it, but how often you do it and how much you do it and all those kinds of things, that's where we end up with a lot of different factors. So you could potentially eat a slice of pizza every day. You could potentially eat a candy bar every day. You can potentially have some ice cream every day. But you can't have an ice cream, pizza, and a candy bar every day. Most everybody listening to this, you'd have to figure out a way to spread that over a period of time. Because if we were to eat like that often, it would up our calories too much. It doesn't satiate you. It doesn't really fix your hunger to eat junk food. It can sometimes, but for the most part, it's weird because it will be highly dense in calories. It'll be highly dense in energy. It'll be energy toxicity for your body, energy that your body does not need, but it doesn't have the nutrients that your body needs. It will have some of the nutrients that you need, but it's not having the micronutrients that you need. It's lacking in the correct percentage of macros. Your body is in search of protein. Your body is always in search of protein, but you are giving it high fat and high amounts of sugar. Your body does not get full off of that. Your body still wants to be hungry based off of that. It's not until we start to give the body a lot of protein that we start to drive down our hunger. Protein is a way to drive down hunger. Intermittent fasting, which sounds counterintuitive, but that's a way to drive down hunger. Because hunger happens whether you eat or not. You can look up the literature and look up the information. Hunger happens whether you eat or not. You have waves of hunger throughout the day. Even if you were to eat at 8 o'clock, you're still probably going to be hungry at 11. If you didn't eat breakfast, you're still going to be hungry at 11. So what's the difference? The difference is up here. The difference is in your mind. Protein leveraging, intermittent fasting, and eating fiber. Those are 3 things that I know for sure can help to really drive down hunger. And when you start to get the right nutrients in your diet, you end up in a position where you don't feel fatigued, you don't feel tired, you don't feel like it's hard to answer the question of, what do I eat next? Because you feel fulfilled all the time, you feel really good. So I mentioned here, I said the 2 keys I think is, number 1, you gotta take emotions out of it, because emotions aren't gonna be helpful at all. You come home from work, a long day of work, where you worked really hard, right? And you're like, yeah, man, today was really stressful. I feel like, what does people say a lot of times when they're stressed? I feel like having a cigarette. I feel like having a beer. I feel like having, a glass of wine would be great, right? When you start to think that way and you start to act on those things, then those things start to become a habit. They start to join together. So I would always say, be very, very careful of how often you do that, and be careful of why you do that. And ask yourself a question about it. Say, hey, is this okay? Because this is day 5 in a row that I'm doing this. And was today any harder than yesterday, really? Probably not. If we're being honest with ourselves, our days aren't hard. Not here in the United States. For most of us, like we have it really good. We have running water, we have heat and air conditioning everywhere we go. A lot of people have an automobile, and the automobile that you drive is on a paved road. Like the road's not even bumpy or lumpy, and if it gets bumpy or lumpy, someone fixes it. A lot of people have a refrigerator full of food, a freezer full of food. Like we have a lot of great things. And so when you're thinking about your day being hard, it might not be that hard. It may have just felt that way because maybe you are stressed out a little bit. But is it really that bad? It's probably not really that bad. I'll say this, okay, so if you have the ability to make a choice on whether to sit down on the couch and just watch Netflix and eat a bunch of Doritos, then you have a life that also, I would anticipate, you have Wi-Fi, you have cable, you have this, you have that, you have streaming, you have the internet, you have all that stuff at your house and then some. You have an abundance. You have probably too much crap, and that's probably part of the issue here. But I think it's important to take the emotions out of it, because you want to try to stay more factual. Because if we get wrapped up in the emotions, you can say, yeah, my whole life I've been told I was fat. You know, from the time I was a kid, I was pretty chubby, and then as I got older, I didn't fit into a lot of clothes. For me, myself, I was a bigger kid. I remember, this is for football. Like, who weighs too much to play football? I weighed too much to play football. Yeah, I know people, people struggle with these things. There's things like this that happen, and I think that you need to just stick to the facts, okay? You were a heavy kid. So were a lot of other people. You were teased as a kid. Okay. How does that change anything for you now? Oh, my parents called me fat. Okay. And you're still fat. Your parents were right. Like, let's make them wrong. Let's figure out a way to make that statement wrong. Let's figure out a way for them to not be able to hang that over your head anymore. I understand the psychological damage that can cause, and I do understand that it's hard, so I'm not trying to undersell that in any way, shape, or form. But you need to try to take the emotions out of it, because your food doesn't have a ton to do with your emotions. Your food has to do with what your body's going to end up looking like, and if you continue to eat good food, you'll feel better about yourself, your emotions will be stronger, and they'll be more stable. When you continue to eat bad food, it will be harder to have good feelings about any of it, because you're still going to be the same person you were yesterday. And your emotions about your food are going to suck. They're going to be in the gutter. You're not going to feel good about yourself. So we know that your stomach it acts as like the second brain. And when you start to feed it the stuff that it needs, when you start to give your body the proper nutrition, and when you start to have the right diet in place, you'll feel better about everything. Your performance in the gym will go up. Your mind, you'll be able to think better. Everything you do, you'll be more productive in every single facet of your day. But to think that because you're sad, or because you're sad that you're heavy, that somehow a Twinkie is going to get you out of this predicament that you're in, you have to admit to yourself that that is a completely irrational thought process. And that's why we stay away from the emotions. We need to reinterpret what we think about ourselves. You need to reinterpret right now. You need to make a decision to reinterpret the way that you think about yourself, because I would imagine the way that some people think about themselves is they think that they can't get out of their own way. They think that they'll never be thin. Jessica herself said, she said, I'll never have abs. And she had to retract that statement in this video because she's on her way to having abs. And she knows it's just a matter of time now. She'll have abs. You guys can make progress as well. You can. A lot of you are really strong mothers. A lot of you are really strong fathers. A lot of you have graduated college, which is a straw feather in your hat above anything I ever did. You know, a lot of you have done really impressive things in your life. You probably show up to work on time every day. You know, you have that ability to get in your car at 8:30 every day, get there at 9, make sure that you're, well kept, and making sure that you're ready to attack the day in whatever way that you can. You have dedication. You're 100% dedicated to the stuff that you're currently doing, right? Because that's why you are where you are. You have 100% dedication to the current habits that you have. How do we get you to have 100% dedication to things that are a little bit more beneficial? That's where it's important to, again, stick to the facts. What are going to be the things that are going to get me there? Eating junk food is not going to make you emotionally feel better. It's going to emotionally make you feel worse. It's a trap. It's a trick. Don't fall for it. It's enticing. It's appetizing. It is attractive. Much like a lot of the stuff that we see on social media, right? There's a lot of things on social media that can keep us trapped in there. There's a lot of things on the internet that can keep us trapped in there. And we could be wasting valuable time that we could put into other things where we could be a lot more productive. I've said this several times as well. The internet is referred to as the World Wide Web. A web is like the most powerful thing to catch an enemy in, right? That's what a spider uses, is a web. Don't get caught up in the web. You're going to get stuck. You're going to get stuck, and you're going to get eaten alive, just like those spiders do, right? So you have to really try to pull your emotions out of it. The second thing I think is really useful, I think again, the reframing is going to be really important. So you can't get off track if the track that you're on allows for some detours. Does that make some sense to you guys? If the fork in the road, if going off to the left represents eating some junk food, okay? And if going off to the left represents eating some junk food, we could say that that path, that track, is going to take a longer period of time. Because I could go to the right, and the right way could be the right way for me. It could be the thing that's heading me towards my goals, right? Like, let's say the right way is healthier food options, right? Well, I can expedite this whole journey, and I can cruise right along, and I can not have any hardship, and I can just go and get right to it. Yeah, you can, but that way is going to be a lot more difficult, because when you try to stay on that track and you think that there is a track in the first place, then you're going to think anytime that you screw up, you're off track. And now what happens? Now that conversation in your head starts to happen again about what a loser you are, what a failure you are, how fat you are, how you'll never be able to make any changes. I'm never going to be able to make any progress. I don't know how to do this. Dieting's not for me. Fitness isn't for me. The gym isn't for me. I'll never be like those fitness people. I'll never be able to figure it out. You're going to have that same dialogue, but while you thought you were going towards your goal, that track is going to go whoop, and it's going to lead you right back to here. You're going to have done a full circle, and you'll be in the same spot that you were many, many years ago. And so you might be better off taking that detour and saying, you know what? I really enjoy when my family has Italian food. I really enjoy when my family has Mexican food. We're not going to have Mexican food every night. We're not going to have Italian food every night. But when we do have it, maybe once a month, maybe you have Italian food once a month, maybe you have Mexican food once a month. When we do have those food options, I'm going to eat them because I really like them, because I'm going to take that road. And I'm going to take the longer road. I'm going to take the longer route because I know that I can stick to that a little bit better. So I think one of the important things whenever I hear somebody talking about a track, or whenever I hear somebody talking about the wagon, like you're on the wagon, you're off the wagon, it always confuses the hell out of me, by the way. I don't even know what it means to be on the wagon. Does that mean you're on the right track? Or when you're off the wagon, you're on the right track? I don't know. I get confused. But I don't think it's great to look at things that way. I think it's good to say these meals, these quote unquote cheat meals, these are just part of my nutrition. This is just part of my plan. And why is it a part of your plan? Because it's a tiny portion of your plan. It represents something so small that it cannot have any significance. People that don't lift weights, people that don't exercise regularly, I want to really encourage you to do so. Lifting weights is fantastic because it helps build muscle mass. When you help to build more muscle mass, when you have a brownie, when you have a cupcake, when you have some of these things, they have less of a negative impact on our bodies. So if you can work on building some muscle mass, the best way to do it is to get into a gym, to do some strength training. If you are intimidated or worried about a gym, or your gym is closed at the moment, work on some push-ups, work on some squats at home, do some step-ups, do some, if you have stairs at your house, you can do some step-ups on the stairs. If you have stable things to squat off of, you can squat off of a chair. Push-ups and the body weight exercises, they're always an option. You can always do lunges, you can always do, if you have some dumbbells, now you can add a whole other array of things that you can do. But strength training is huge. Getting in some forms of exercise, you can always say that when you decide to take that left detour and eat that cake and eat some of these foods, you can always say, yeah, today on a scale of 1 to 10 diet-wise was like a 4. 10 being like excellent and 10 being your best effort, right? It was like a 4, but I got up and I walked this morning and I lifted weights, right? When you do those two things, it's like, okay, well, in the grand scheme of things, that day wasn't that bad. You just took that day that might have been a 4 for eating, well, now it's a 6 or 7 for your overall health because you really only ate, maybe one meal that was bad, and you didn't get too thrown off. You didn't fall for it. Now, another thing that happens is that once you decide to take that detour, Now how do we keep heading towards our goals again? And that gets to be the hardest part. And that's where your interest is going to be the most important thing. I cannot make you any more interested, but what I can tell you is that you are probably, if you have failed at your diet many times over, you are probably lying to yourself on how interested you are in losing weight, how interested you really are. Because what it shows me, and this might be harsh, is it shows me that you'd rather eat junk food. You are more interested in the feeling of eating junk food and the place that it keeps you in. You are more comfortable with that than you are with the idea of you losing weight and becoming a different person. Because if you were interested enough in becoming this better person, and I use that in quotes because I don't think that having extra body fat on you is any way to necessarily judge each other, but it's the way that we judge ourselves, right? You know, going towards being that better person and going towards the better choices, it's going to be something that you're going to have to massively be interested in. And if you're not doing those things, you cannot force yourself to do those things. You cannot buy a personal trainer to force you to do those things. You can get help, you can get assistance, you can get people to help you online. There's a lot of options, and you might find motivation, you might find inspiration from those people. But as soon as that wears out, or as soon as those training sessions are over, you're still the same person you were yesterday. So it's important that we try to really start to analyze ourselves on why are we making these decisions. And you can say to yourself, wow, okay, last time I did that diet, I was only like 60% in because, you know, if I'm being honest, I would have came out the other end better if I was just 20% more, because you don't need to be 100%. If you're just at 80%, you can get a lot of great results. If you're doing your walks 80% of the time, you're doing your training 80% of the time, and you're about 80% with your diet, as long as the 20% isn't too crazy, you should be good to go. You should have a body that feels good to you. You should be more confident in yourself at that point. Or I would assume that you would be more confident, but that sometimes is complicated. So those are my suggestions, you know, when it comes to this track. Allow for some different roads, because there's so many different ways to lose weight. You know, why would you only choose one, or why would you only think that there's one way? And why would you ever assume that anything's a failure? You know, if you cave in because it's somebody's birthday party and had some cake, does eating more cake help that situation, or does it hurt it? Does waking up the next day, you know, going, damn, that cake tasted good, I want nothing more than some French toast this morning. Is that helpful or is that hurtful? How does it help? It doesn't seem like it's helpful. Start to lean into the things that are helpful. You will be shocked and you'll be completely surprised, completely stunned every single time that you make a good decision. There's hormones released in your body that help you to feel better about yourself. And those decisions, you can lean into them stronger and stronger and stronger, and before you know it, you were just taking a couple steps to head in the right direction, and now you're at a full blast sprint because you made the right decision somewhere along the way. You got slingshotted forward, you got slingshotted into the future. It's a boost. Every time you do the right thing, it's a boost. Every time you do a negative thing, it's a double negative. It's a double whammy. You got to be really careful with those things, because not only did you bring in unhealthy food into the mix, it takes up room in your stomach for otherwise healthier food choices, but also you took a step back and now you have to spend a lot of time on trying to figure out what are you going to do with that extra energy? What are you going to do with those extra calories? You might need to, you know, stick in an extra workout. You might need to fast a little bit longer. So making bad food choices is really a giant waste of time. People say that time is money, but I actually think that food is money as well. And I think that bad food choices, they end up making you have to spend a lot of time to figure out ways to burn them off in the first place. So don't waste your time on French fries, don't waste your time on junk food. If you want to have it occasionally, I totally understand, I'm totally on board with that, but make it something that is just a smaller part of your nutrition. That's all the time we got. I appreciate all you guys. Strength is never weakness, weakness never strength. Catch you guys later.